Whew, that was another long section, but I hope everything makes sense now. How do we optimize our code? Well, we can only load what's needed by doing something like code splitting, where we can do route-based chunking or component-based chunking, all using Webpack and that dynamic import. Or maybe even using a tool like Loadable library that does it for you and gives you a nice wrapper. We also have this idea of tree shaking, which we didn't talk about it too much because it's kind of done behind the scenes for you by Webpack, which again is really nice. And this tree shaking removes any unused code when you actually build your app. So for example, if you're importing a massive library but only using one function from it, well, it will discard all the rest. Now, ideally, in a perfect world, that happens 100% of the time with 100% accuracy. In real life, that may not be the case, but again, this is something that you can do with Webpack, and it'll improve as time goes on. But for now, using things such as Babel preset env that we've seen before, which avoids transpiling features already in modern browsers, allows us to use some of this tree shaking ability. The other point was to avoid blocking the main thread. And this is something that we've talked about over and over. Minimizing our JavaScript time, our compile, parse, and execution time, and be really smart about how much JavaScript we're including in our code. We actually inadvertently also talked a little bit about memory leaks. And memory leaks, although this term is new right here, is simply making sure that we don't keep adding memory into our apps. So for example, if we have a ton of event listeners on a page and we change that page to another route, let's say we go to the About page, but we haven't removed those event listeners, now our browsers remember more and more things. So you can have something called memory leaks, where as we're working on our app, the things that the browser has to remember, such as variables, increases more and more until it reaches the limit and it can crash. Another thing that can be avoided by minimizing our JavaScript. And then finally, we want to avoid multiple re-rendering, something that we really talked about with React, and minimizing the number of DOM manipulations that we have to do, the amount of work that our code needs to do on the browser. All right, optimizing code is something that can just keep going and going. There's so many things you can do, but you really want to pick your battles. But I hope you got a good overview of what we can do and what the fundamental principles are for this section. In the next part, we're going to finally get to progressive web apps. I'll see you in that one. Bye-bye.